Hey, I'm Joe Lagerstrom, and this is a continuing story of the story that my players and I are weaving in our Pathfinder game. It's been running about a year now, this campaign. It's a homebrew that I'm doing. I'm the DM there, and just for fun, I'm putting this stuff down in video form and see where it goes. But I had to leave it last time because we were playing a game, and our game sessions are 3 hours long on Roll20. And we play Tuesday nights every other week. And unfortunately, we got in the middle of a battle, and if you want to go back to the previous video, you can get the start of that. The five of them versus three Griffons that had come in to attack them. So that battle had been going pretty well, really. They had actually taken out one of the Griffons. Two others were coming around and using strafe attacks on them. And so, unfortunately, we ran out of time last game and had to pick it up this time. So, this game, the way it worked out is we started in the middle of that Griffon encounter, which is awkward. We wish we didn't have to do that. And then went on. They had another encounter that same thing happened. They got partway through and had to stop again. So, on this video, I'm going to cover just the tail end of that Griffon encounter. And then I will cover the other encounter in the whole in my next video, so we don't have to cut these in half. Because, like I said last time, we don't know how the story is going to end, right? Because we're making it up as we go along, or we're creating it as we go along. That's how Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, RPGs in general work. We have a framework, and that I've put together as the Dungeon Master, Game Master, but the fun part is I'm not controlling it, and I'm just trying to pay out enough line that they can wander where they like. And so anyway, what happens with the Griffons? Party was looking pretty good. And as I said, we had two that were still in pretty good shape that were circling around. This was happening in a pretty wide area. There were some boulders that were giving some cover, but for the most part, the Griffons were having a pretty easy time coming in, strafing the characters. Taking an attack in the middle of a move basically is what they can do, which is hard because they end their turn out of range for an attack unless the party's got ranged weapons. So what happened, like as we got started picking up that again, unfortunately we had right off the bat a tough one. He's gonna fly to there and take one beak attack at Crumb.
Hey, Crumb, your Uber's here.
Yeah, or a lift. I guess it's a lift.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't tip him good enough.
Oh.
Oh, no.
It was nice knowing you.
I bet that hit. Okay. The Crumb was pretty heavily damaged from that. Not killed, but pretty heavily damaged, and that left the Griffon with still one more action, and the Griffon flew through, and Crumb was left staggering watching this Griffon fly by. So that was an exciting way to start, to show that, yeah, you still need to pay attention. These things are still dangerous. After that, of course, they wanted to return fire. The thief wasn't in a position to do that. Core was, and so he was able to take shots at this thing as it departed, but didn't bring it down or anything. These things were in pretty good shape. Now, one of them, though, had a problem, one of the Griffons, that is, because in the prior turns, the prior game, actually, the Griffon had made an attack on Bulgy, the cleric. And Bulgy has a really interesting spell, Blood Vendetta, if you're familiar with that in Roll20. And that left the Griffon in pretty bad shape. Basically, he's now flying through the air and coming around for attacks, but he has got, he's bleeding continuously. It's continuous bleed damage from this Blood Vendetta spell. And so you've got this one Griffon has come through, done the attack, and the other one is coming around. The one coming around is actually, there's blood in the air as he's flying through, trying to recover from this Blood Vendetta. So, but he did come in and he took an attack. He took an attack on Darv, and that's not good because Darv is actually lower level. He's only second level. He's the party alchemist, and so this he took an attack on Darv, and went through. I believe he missed on that attack, luckily. So, meanwhile, Bolgi was able to see that Crumb had been so damaged by that critical hit, and he did a ranged heal spell on Crumb. And it turns out that was a good thing he did that, because they weren't done with Crumb yet. So we've got people using up their turns, and the thing that made it good, the game was moving quickly because people are excited. This is another good encounter there, and they're rolling through their turns and keeping the action moving. So Darv is trying to return attacks on the Griffon as they're going through. Darv's the alchemist again, and he is throwing everything he's got at these things.
Okay. Since I'm right there, I'm going to try to hit him with a lesser alchemist fire.
All right.
Yeah, put him on fire too.
Yeah, maybe you can craft some skull-shaped alchemist fire flasks.
There you go.
I do have crafting.
There you go.
I like it.
Alright. Let's try Bottle Lightning. That's a second attack.
Oh,
He dodges that one also.
Yep.
But then his third action, he went around and stood in a position where it would make it easy for someone else to flank this Griffon. So now they being the party, they're starting to think as a cohesive unit. It's taken a year, but that's hard to get to that point. But these players now they're starting to get clever, right? So then it's Kor's turn. Kor is the party the champion, right? So Kor's been helping in multiple ways. For one thing, when it's frequent when people get attacked by a monster, Kor is able to use what's called the liberating step in Pathfinder. Extremely useful. Basically, he's able to lower the damage that his ally is taking as long as they're in range and whatnot, and even give his ally a chance to take a step to reposition themselves. That has saved their bacon many times. So Kor is pretty popular in the party with this liberating step. So anyway, Kor's turn comes, and he was able to then move into that same Griffon that Darv had gotten around to the back of, and that gave Kor, as he moved up, a flanking position. So Kor took 2 attacks with his longsword. And hit on both of those. So now this thing is Bleeding Blood Vendetta, and he's just got two strikes against him with Kor's longsword. And there was some other damage as well along the way, so he's starting to look pretty chewed up. So lots going on here. If this was a movie, it'd be one of those things where the cameras were coming in all different angles, and you have to pay real attention, or you'd miss something. It seems like. So while they've got this one pretty well surrounded, the other Griffon comes around, and he takes a strafing attack. And strafing attacks always mean it's going to go after 2 targets, and it goes after Kor and Bolgi on its way through. He's going to use his strafe, and so 2 actions get him to here, and in the middle of that he can take an attack on Bolgi. Second one is Kor. So 1 claw at Bolgi, 1 claw at Kor. The first one was Bolgi, so that's going to be
22 AC.
22. Okay.
22. No, I do not have my shield up.
My AC is 23.
Oh, shit.
It's a
And
hit.
I'll probably end up using liberating step for this.
Damage 12. Isn't this
-7, 5.
Did you already use your liberating step?
I used it last time and I had my own turn, so it reset it so I can
Yeah.
use it again.
Perfect. Okay. So that's
5 damage then.
5 damage
yeah.
for you. Okay. And the next attack is on Core.
And that'll hit. My AC is 23.
So it's
Okay.
still, that other Griffon is still up in the air and still very much a factor in the battle. Meanwhile, there is the thief, Crumb. Crumb was able to also then to move in, come around to that flanked, bleeding Griffon, and get a flanking attack on him. And you know, if you're a thief and you're taking a flanking attack, that's not so good for your your opponent. And he was able to finish off Griffon number 2. So now there's one Griffon left in the air, and he's still circling around. So they're making good progress, but they are also getting pretty torn up as well. Bulgy's casting heal spells left and right to keep everybody propped up. So what are they going to do? They still got the one flying around, and it's not conveniently staying in one place where they can just attack it. It's using strafes. So haven't mentioned much about Caddis, have we? Well, Caddis was certainly there, and this point, Caddis is using a composite longbow, and she fires a volley at this thing and manages one of those arrows to critical hit. That's very effective. So this thing is now very much aware that it's in danger. There's other ranged attack too. At this point, Crumb has armed himself with a sling, and he fires away with his sling. Slings have little. I think he only got one shot because he had to fire load. So he got one shot off on the sling, and that was a miss, unfortunately. And as the turns are rolling and this thing's flying around, coming around for another attack, Caddis fires another volley, gets another hit. And so they're starting to chip away at this thing, but it's still able to come in and run yet another strafe against them. And it comes into strafe again. It takes an attack on Darv and Crumb. Now, again, Darv's the one that's vulnerable. He's only 2nd level. But luck is with Darv. It misses him. The other attack on Crumb, not so lucky.
How's my shield mounted?
So yeah, his flight path takes him over Crumb, and that's Darv, I think, there. Crumb gets the first attack. There it is. Yeah, it's gotta hit.
That's critical.
Things were just not going well for Crumb. You know, he'd already had to been massively healed by Bulgy. Well, this talent attack comes in, and the thing grabs another big hunk of flesh from Crumb and just does a big critical on Crumb as it flies through.
That's a critical. Okay. This is his.
Decide to reduce 7 damage on whatever the outcome is, and give you an option to stand.
It's like I said, that's a pretty good thing that he was healed by Bulgy in between those attacks. It might not have gone the same way. But so Crumb is still alive and firing away with his sling and missing as he's trying to bring this thing down. But it's, you know, flying up in the air, and they're having a hard time getting to it. Core is firing away with his short bow and making a couple of hits there. Caddis is still firing with the long composite bow. Meanwhile, Darv is passing out healing elixirs, and of course, Bulgy, the cleric, is trying to keep everybody propped up in case this thing comes around again and does something equally rude as it's been doing with these critical hits. The battle had a very dramatic end, which is great. You know, sometimes you couldn't write the script this well. So this thing is definitely at this point starting to get really chewed up, and it finally decides it's had enough, and it is heading off into the distance. So it turns and uses all 3 of its actions to move directly away from the party. Of course, it's flying, so they can still see it, but it's moving away fast. So that puts it at a pretty good range. It's 180 feet away after 3 moves, and so there's basically works out to be, for practical purposes, they got 1 chance each, the 3 characters that have ranged weapons. So how'd that work out? Did they manage to bring it down? I mean, it's extreme range, there's some minuses. They've got range factors coming in, and this is going to be hard shots. So the first opportunity to take a shot in the turn order, the first opportunity for the last chance, I should say, was Crumb, the thief. Now, Crumb's only armed with a sling, so that seems kind of impractical. They're going to be bigger minuses, shorter range, and all that sort of thing. And so Jamie, who's playing Crumb, he had to think about that and decide if he really wanted to do that or not, if it was even worth doing.
Okay, I assume that the sling is out of range.
It's only a 50-foot range.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can keep going ranged for a long time, but you'd be so many negatives, you'd basically be rolling fumbles constantly.
It'd be a miracle if you hit it.
Crumb would have to take a -6 to try to hit it.
With a nat 20 and fumble at the same time.
You can,
Theoretically, on the first attack, it might be possible, but anything past the first attack, you might not be able to do it.
Yeah.
So if it's possible, then for me to take a Hail Mary shot at it, just
Sure.
to
The -6. You do a -6.
So I'll take a shot.
Okay.
Good. Oh, boy. Oh my
You
god.
still hit it, though.
No, yeah, and then that would be 22. So it would be 22.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Oh, that's the thing of
Went blank, what happened?
that's the thing of legend. So you did 4 points of damage.
yeah.
Oh shoot! Well, it is still alive, just barely. Yeah, it staggers in the air and dips, but is still flying.
And he is just about out of range. But things look good because here comes Caddis. Now, Caddis is the fighter of the party. She has composite longbow. She's got 3 shots she can fire. Things are looking good, right? Wrong. No. 3 shots, 3 misses. So Caddis, unsuccessful. This thing's leaving, and there's only 1 chance left, and that's Core.
Well, just sit here and watch as Core snipes this thing out of the sky in honor of Caddis.
There you go.
He'll even say a silent prayer to Sarah and Ray as he does it. A silent prayer in his mind. Don't let this beast attack any more innocent folk. Alright, here we go. This is going to be at a -4 penalty.
It's a hit.
22.
Nice.
3 damage.
3 damage.
That might be enough to kill him.
It craters. Down it goes. Yep.
Yes.
Nice shot.
Long range shot.
Boom.
Brings it down.
It
Nice.
hits. And that is it for the last Griffin. At long range, with the short bow, this thing finally falls and hits the dust, and they have a poof of dust in the distance and a pile of feathers and claws. So that's how this last encounter, the Griffin encounter, wrapped up. And that was a fun one. So everybody was energized with that, ready to go on to the next thing. And they're in the wilderness, they're traveling on their way to a destination, which is they're going after the bad guy, Maka Slider, in his lair that he's set up. So they're headed for quite the pinnacle there of action. They're not there yet. They got some more days to travel, and yeah, they don't make it without something else happening on the way, and that is what we're going to talk about next time. There's another battle, and we're only halfway through it, and I'll just give you a little spoiler. I'm not sure if they're going to make it to Maka Slider or not. They're kind of in deep right now, so we'll cover that next time. And I don't know how it's going to end. We'll see. will I keep doing these videos if we have a total party kill? I don't know. Maybe I'll have to just start over with first levelers. But I hope that doesn't happen. Nobody wants that. So fingers crossed till next time, right?